The Atlanta Falcons actually did something right, something smart, something that I can get behind. And we're going to talk about it today. But before we get started, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. And to continue to support my channel.
Big as the Super Bowl.
The Atlanta Falcons actually did something right. They actually did something smart and logical and something that I've been banging the drum for years. They actually took a pass rusher. And not only did they not take a pass rusher, not only did they didn't just take a pass rusher, they actually took two. That's right, two pass rushers in the first round. And for those of you that haven't paid attention, last night in the NFL draft, the Atlanta Falcons at number 15 took Jalon Walker from my UGA Georgia Bulldogs at number 15. And that's not all they did. Not only did they take my man Jalon Walker from Georgia, but they also traded right back up from second round. They traded with the LA Rams, and they traded next year's first round pick, a move that's kind of controversial. You know, I've seen some reactions to that move. You know, it seems like the Falcons have gotten some backlash from the media. And so they ended up trading right back up with the LA Rams, and they took James Pearce from Tennessee. And so again, the Atlanta Falcons ended up, by the end of the night, they took two pass rushers. They took Jalon Walker from the Georgia Bulldogs, who's considered to be one of the top, two, the pass rushers in the draft. And they also traded up and took James Pearce, from Tennessee. And, this guy, he's had some, from what I can be able to gather, like he's had some, character issues. Whether, you want to consider them to be minor or major, but he's gotten involved with some stuff in the past. And so that's kind of the controversial one. But the Atlanta Falcons took both of them. And as an Atlanta Falcon fan, my reaction to what they did is bravo, Terry Fontenot. Bravo. This is what I've been asking for. This is what I wanted. The Atlanta Falcons actually did something that I've been banging the drum for them to do for years, and that's address the lack of a pass rush. And the Atlanta Falcons finally, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of Falcon fans that's watching this channel right now. Finally, the Atlanta Falcons they made an attempt. They made it a necessary goal and objective to address the pass rush. And they finally did it. And look, I said it about a couple of months ago, a few episodes back, that the Atlanta Falcons need to do whatever they can to address the pass rush. Now, previously when I said that, I was kind of under the assumption that some Pro Bowl high-level pass rushers would become available. And I was talking about guys like Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby and Micah Parsons and what's my man name from Cleveland? Myles Garrett. Like, I was under the assumption that, maybe like one or two or three or maybe all of these guys would be available. And as it turned out, none of them ended up being available. All of the guys that I named, Myles Garrett from Cleveland and Micah Parsons from the Cowboys and Max Crosby from the Raiders and Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. Like, all four of those individuals ended up staying with their teams. And, look, and granted, all of them, a couple of them still have some contract situations to handle out. But eventually, logically, it just feels like all of those four guys are going to stay put with their teams. And so as a result of that, the pass rush market, the veteran pass rush market really wasn't there. And so the Atlanta Falcons went with the next best option, and that's draft the best pass rushers available, and that's exactly what they did. And the Jalon Walker move, getting them at 15, just a huge steal. Just a huge steal getting them. Because I watched Georgia football games, and I got to tell you, this kid, Jalon Walker, whenever I watched Georgia football, this dude always stood out like a sore thumb. Just his ability to just rush the passer, blitz, create havoc, make plays all over the field, get in the backfield, getting after the quarterback. This guy was a high impact level player over the last couple of years, watching him at Georgia. And so I'm ecstatic that the Atlanta Falcons got him because, look, man, if you look at all the mock drafts, this dude, Jalon Walker, was supposed to go in the top 10. And believe it or not, there were some that made the argument that this dude, Jalon Walker, was the best pass rusher in the draft. And so you got a guy like him to 15, and for him to drop to where the Atlanta Falcons are picking or end up, getting them at 15. I mean, that's a huge boom. That is a huge win, in my opinion, for the Atlanta Falcons to get a guy like Jalon Walker. And this is a guy that, the comparisons that people have thrown out to Jalon Walker is Micah Parsons. Ironically, a player that I was kind of hoping the Atlanta Falcons would be able to get. And, like I said, the Cowboys, he's still on the Dallas Cowboys, so the Atlanta Falcons can get him. And so why not get a guy who draws some comparisons to Micah Parsons? And so I love it. I love that you get that you get Jalon Walker from Georgia. I think this dude is going to be a stud at the next level. And universally, I got to say, I don't think there's a more first-round pick that universally every Falcon fan is just happy and excited about. I can't remember, like, the last first-round pick that I would say that Falcon fans universally are just in full agreement that this dude is it, and this dude is going to be special, and that this dude was absolutely the right pick. And, this was the smart pick. You got to go back to Julio Jones back in 2011 to find the last first round pick that the Falcons took that everyone is just in full agreement that, oh, that's the right pick. Oh, that's the right guy. Oh, there's just no question. Like, he's absolutely the guy. And Jalon Walker from Georgia is it. It's just a no-brainer. Like when the Falcons were at 15 and Jalon Walker was available, it was obvious that not just Falcon fan, but every football fan was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. You gotta be the Falcons. Like the Falcons can't screw this up. The Falcons can't mess this up. Like, this guy is a no-brainer. You gotta take him. And the Atlanta Falcons took him. And when they did, I was smiling from ear to ear because I said, okay, maybe these dudes do know what they're doing. And they took Jalon Walker at number 15. And, hey, I mean, what else is there to say? They took him at number 15. And so when that happened, we were all excited. And we just, under the assumption, we're thinking, okay, we might be done for the night. The Falcons got their guy. We got our pass rush. We upgraded. And so we just assumed that, okay, maybe we done. We did what we needed to do, right? And then maybe about an hour or so later, you get this notification on your iPhone and you're on Twitter, and all of a sudden you find out and you see the report from Adam Schefter that nope, the Atlanta Falcons traded up. And the Atlanta Falcons traded up to number 26 with the Rams. And you're like, oh, okay. The Atlanta Falcons traded up. And so at that time, I thought process was, okay, what are the Falcons going to do? Are they going to go after, Starks, the safety from Georgia? Because my immediate reaction was like, okay, they might get him, because they could use another safety. and so maybe Atlanta Falcons could get him. But nope, like I said, they actually doubled down and they got James Pearce from Tennessee. And my immediate reaction when they got him was like I said, I loved it. I loved it because for those of y'all that have not been Falcon fans, we have suffered badly when it comes to the lack of pass rush. It has been an atrocity when it comes to how abysmal this team has been when it comes to rushing the passer. And look, he does have some flaw. Like James Pearce, he seems to have a little bit of a character problem. Like he's gotten into some trouble in the past. I get all that. And look, this is kind of where I might have to trust the Atlanta Falcons evaluation on this, and that they've done the research and they've talked to people around James Pearce, and they've talked to his family and the coaches and all of his people. And you gotta imagine that the Atlanta Falcons felt comfortable enough with some of the background of a James Pearce, and they were like, okay, we're cool with taking him. And so, look, I've said it before. The Atlanta Falcons needed this team. Not only did they need one pass rusher, they needed multiple pass rushers. And for those of you people that are highly critical of the Atlanta Falcons trading up and getting another pass rusher, I want to throw a stat at y'all. Here's a graph, or I don't want to say a graph, but it's someone that I saw someone post this on X or Twitter or whatever people want to call it these days. And here's the facts when it comes to where the Atlanta Falcons have been historically when it comes to their lack of a pass rush. Over the last 5 seasons, do you know who's last in the NFL in sacks? Oh, that's right. It's the Atlanta Falcons. Hey, guess what? Over the last 10 years, do you know who's last in the NFL in sacks? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's the Atlanta Falcons. Over the last 20 years, do you know who's last in the NFL in sacks? Over the last 20 years. Oh, that's right. It's the Atlanta Falcons. That's right. This same franchise over the last 20 years. Since 2005. The Atlanta Falcons have been last in the NFL in sacks since 2005. That is a joke. That's pathetic. It's embarrassing. And it's exactly why, as an Atlanta Falcon fan, I have no hate for what Terry Fontenot did yesterday in doubling down and getting, not only they got Jalon, not only did they get, I don't know why I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm sorry. Jalon Walker from Georgia, but they doubled down and got James Pearce from Tennessee. They got both of them. And it had to happen. It absolutely had to. What the Atlanta Falcons did in that NFL draft was absolutely necessary. It had to happen. This team was abysmal at pressuring the quarterback. Every time I've had to watch this football team watch opposing quarterbacks sit back in the pocket, grab their iPhones, scroll on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and look at videos and Instagram models and sports highlights or whatever. And before the quarterback is able to complete a pass, it's awful. It was awful. It was awful what I've had to witness over the years, watching the Atlanta Falcons defensive line and just be incapable of pressuring quarterbacks. The last legit edge rusher the Atlanta Falcons has had was John Abraham back in 2012. That was 13 years ago. That was 13 years ago. And I'm not even counting Vic Beasley. He don't count because that dude wasn't good. I don't care if he had a double-digit sack season. That guy was not good at football. No disrespect to Vic Beasley. Well, yeah, actually, I kind of am disrespecting him. I don't care. I don't care. Vic Beasley was not good. The last good Falcon edge rusher was John Abraham. And even with John Abraham, when he was an Atlanta Falcon, he was one guy. He was the lone edge rusher. But outside of him, we didn't really have a reliable defensive lineman who can get after the quarterback. He was just one guy. And so now when I look at the Atlanta Falcons roster, and I'm saying, okay, like I said, we got Jalon Walker, we got James Pearce, we got Ed Bucati, we signed Leonard Floyd. You know, now I'm looking at the Atlanta Falcons defensive lineman with the edge rusher. I'm like, okay, we got some depth, we got bodies, and now we got some real difference makers, and now we got some speed at the defensive line position. And now we got guys that, you know, Raheem Morris can use on defense and be a little creative. And now there's some real legit hope that this team will actually be able to get after the quarterback, because in this day and age, you got to be able to get after the quarterback. It's a must. It's important. It's the number one key ingredient when it comes to building a good defense. You got to have good defensive linemen who can get after the quarterback. It makes things easier on your linebackers and your secondary. And finally, the Atlanta Falcons have made an aggressive attempt in addressing those holes. And if this Atlanta Falcons team can actually have a real defensive line who can get after the quarterback, maybe, just maybe, this Atlanta Falcons team could actually be good next year and win some games. Because we all know what they have on the offensive side of the ball, or at least talent-wise. Like, I mean, we can just go down the line and we got, Bijan Robinson at the running back position. We got Tyler Algier, as the backup running back. And we got Drake London, and we have a Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod, and whatever one of you guys, whatever we think of Kyle Pitts nowadays. I'm gonna be nice, but we can just say that Kyle Pitts is talented. He has talent, whether whatever. And so, you know what? I'm gonna leave Kyle Pitts out of this. I'm just gonna leave him out of this. I'm just forget about what I just said about Kyle Pitts. And so, but when you have a Bijan Robinson, and when you have a Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod and Drake London, and then you have a guy like Michael Penix at the quarterback position with his physical talent and what he showcased the second half of the season, and now I look at his team and I'm like, okay, we got some potential. We got some talent. We got something. If things can flow right together, this team could actually be good next year. If the pass rush is what I expect for it to be, with these new draft picks and additions, and what we have on the offense side of the ball, I now look at the Atlanta Falcons and think, man, we might actually be something next year. We just might. There's actually a glimmer of hope for this football team heading into the next season. And that's all I can ask is I've just been waiting. I've been waiting for these Atlanta Falcons to just show me something. Give me a reason to buy in. Give me a reason to believe. For me to be excited. For me to have hope and optimism. Just give me a reason. And last night, the Atlanta Falcons finally gave me a reason. Look, man, this season coming up is do or die for Terry Fontenot. And he knows it. He knows it. That's why he traded that's why he traded next year's first round pick to the Rams and got the 26 and took James Pearce from Tennessee. Like, we know the deal. And here's another thing. I don't think this is far-fetched to say. Had Jalon Walker not been there, had he went earlier, maybe around in the top 10 the way many people projected him to go, I think it's logical to assume that James Pearce would have been the pick at 15. Like, I think that's a fair assumption. And so I think it's fair to say that the Atlanta Falcons did not expect a Jalon Walker from Georgia to be there at 15. And when he was there, I think Atlanta just, understandably, jumped up at it. And they were like, okay, maybe we can be a little more aggressive depending on how far this dude, James Pearce, drops. And as soon as he started dropping, I think it's logical to assume that, you know what, Atlanta just said, you know what, we like this dude. We just going to be aggressive. We're going to get him. And this is our guy. And we gonna get him. And the Atlanta Falcons did what they did, and they got him. And as an Atlanta, like I said, man, as an Atlanta Falcon man, look, the national media, I can already feel it. They're going to come down on the Atlanta Falcons, and they're going to talk about how stupid or how insane or how, what are they doing? Like, I get it. And look, there's nobody that's been more critical of Terry Fontenot and this Atlanta Falcons organization than me. I've been hypercritical of what these Atlanta Falcons have done over the past few years. I did not like that the Falcons last year doubled down on Kirk Cousins and they drafted Michael Penix. I didn't like that. I was not pleased with that a year ago. Now, look, Michael Penix, that looks a little better, because Kirk Cousins did not look good for most of last season. And Michael Penix, it just, now you have your guy, potentially. But I did not like what they did last year when it comes to how they handled that draft. I did not like that they took Kyle Pitts back in 2021. I did not like that. I did not like that they went so hard after Deshaun Watson, and Lord knows had the Falcons managed to get him, who Lord knows where this franchise will be right now. We will be even in worse shape. And so there are many things about I did not like that they went all in on Desmond Ridder a couple of years ago, believing that he would be like our starter. So there are a multitude of things that the Atlanta Falcons under Terry Fontenot have done that I have not been happy about. But what they did last night is the opposite of that. I'm very pleased with what the Falcons did last night. I'm very pleased that they doubled down on getting the edge rushers. And I got to say, this is as excited and hopeful that I've been about this franchise in 8 years. Seriously. It's the most excited I've been about this franchise in about 8 years. And so, good on the Atlanta Falcons for actually doing the right thing and doubling down and getting your two edge rushers and addressing what was the biggest weakness by far on this football team. And so I want to give my kudos to the Atlanta Falcons for doing what us Falcon fans have been pleading for them to do for years. And hey, man, I gotta say this. I gotta admit this. The Atlanta Falcons drafting Jalon Walker from the Georgia Bulldogs and trading up and getting James Pearce from Tennessee. Hey, I got to give it up. The Atlanta Falcons got it right. And for that, salute.